view on how to successfully build a business. He brought his vision into Q. I guess it was almost been 2 years. He brought his vision into Q. And with his vision of how to implement successful business practices, he put Q on the map to be one of the top fastest growing companies in the world, and we just ranked number 12 globally as the fastest growing company. So if you're wondering if you're sitting in a seat that is the right seat, I'm going to tell you it is. So I'm going to get myself out of the way. I'm going to let Jake come over here, and he's going to really lead you through who we are, what we have to offer, and the timing of what Q has to offer. Thank you.
Good to see everybody. I love your traffic. Great. No, I love it every time. Love it every time. I haven't been here for a while. Actually, on my memories on Facebook, it just popped up that I was here about a month ago or something with Mr. Mark Wilson. So it's good to see some familiar faces, and it's good to see some new faces. My name is Jake Spencer, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Global Sales for Q Sciences, and I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful everyone who traveled got here safely, and there's probably some people caught in traffic because that's what your story is usually. So we'll just kind of get through that, right? So I'm excited everyone's here. This is actually our official fourth stop on what we call our hemp tour. About 4 weeks ago, I was just hearing and learning of our product line you're going to learn about tonight. One of them specifically our full spectrum hemp line. And as I was sitting there and being in the industry as long as I've been, I actually started kind of realizing that there were some things that we could do to enhance our business and enhance the experience, not just with the customers, because the customers have been winning and winning big with this product line, but also for many of you who are here, and as we travel, people who are obviously looking for a business. And so Dana's right. Dana has been a very close friend of myself and my wife, and there's some great leaders here. We'll be highlighting them later on tonight. But it just kind of dawned on me as I was doing some research and seeing some of the transformational stories, not just on the health side that many of you guys experienced personally, but the transformational stories that's happened with many of you guys financially because of what the company's offered. And it's kind of clicked. I said, we have got to probably do a little bit of a shift of focus and maybe educate people on why the hemp movement is so relevant, why it's so big, why it's growing so fast. But then also at the end of our meeting, maybe give you guys a snippet of or a glimpse of what this gentleman's research and development team has already got made for you guys to close out the remainder of this year with new products and going into all of next year. In fact, we're just up here talking about because we just got notified that our products just got registered in Hong Kong. We were talking about it, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, we have stuff already made. We're super excited." So we're going to be showing you one of my favorite things that's coming tonight. Obviously, I do love the skincare. I know you guys are really excited about it. I think it's awesome, but I'm a guy, so when I take a shower, I just do this and then this and that, and that's my skincare. I don't have to look good. I got a wife that does, so it's all good. So very quickly, I want to just say thanks for coming. I'll tell you my story, how it's kind of transpired, then we'll bring up Mr. Matt Smith. Those of you who have not heard kind of what happens on the hemp tour, it's a little bit of a different presentation. So if you've not seen this presentation yet, or you've not heard what happens, and if you're an ambassador, probably I would either put record, I'd turn off your phone, and I'd put on airplane mode, and I'd put record so it doesn't get interrupted, because what he's going to explain to you, I don't think, in fact, I know 100% has not been explained to you. And the second part of it is you're going to hear some things as far as timing and positioning that's actually a very smart business decision on why many of you are going to get really excited. So let's kind of give you guys a little bit of a rundown, okay? I actually came to a meeting like this many moons ago. Yes, I do have much gray hair. I do have 4 children. See, they're 11, 9, 7, and 3. And I know for a fact right now, it is barely 8 o'clock at our house. So the 11, the 9, and the 7-year-old just got out of practice. 1 at football and 2 at basketball. So my wife is running all over, and the 3-year-old we try to keep her alive, right? It's just what we're doing. And but that wasn't the case for me. I was actually 21 years old a long time ago, and someone actually asked me to come take a look at a business. And I was not looking for a business simply because I was going to college and I was taking a lot of credit hours, and I was actually a struggling college athlete. Left the basketball team, transitioned over to the golf team, and still didn't have a scholarship, so that told you what my athletic ability was. So I tell you this because I was very, very into what I was doing, but when someone said the term business to me, I actually didn't think I qualified for a business, being at 21, because I knew what my financial standing was in life. And I didn't have much money, I didn't have knowledge, I didn't have a lot of life experience. So I came to the meeting very reluctant. And I came, I listened, I don't really know what was said. I don't really remember much of anything in my first meeting. I do remember they talked about residual income. And now, as I'm getting older, I realize how powerful residual income has been for me for now approaching 2 decades. I do remember they were talking about a part-time, spare-time business, which for most people is what's really needed. And the number 3 thing I remember was they handed the phone off to me, and I talked to someone who was in a different state. And he spoke to me in a way that actually just listened, that I could really comprehend what he was saying. He was 2 years older than me, and that phone call changed my life. The very next day, I drove a whole bunch of hours in a red Honda Civic. I sat outside a Village Inn, which is like a Denny's, in Salt Lake City, Utah. I waited for him to arrive. He was about 7 hours late, and he was doing meetings. He kept texting me, and that's a big, huge sign of those of you who've known me. You know, I'm not that patient to wait around. And I met him, and that was history. I worked with him exclusively for many years. I did many meetings like this all over the world. It was great. Most people that I help and mentor and coach are part-time, spare time. I came to a meeting like this one time, and there was a really attractive lady there. She was blonde. And I'm really good at recruiting people, so I recruited her to be my wife. She turned me down for a week straight, true story. And then after she said, okay, come take me on a date, we got engaged 2 days later, and we were married in 3 weeks. It was awesome. Because I was ready. No, like ready. We worked that company together for over 11 years. I sold my company. We sold a couple other businesses. And at that time, it was interesting because a friend of mine actually handed off a product. And I was in a meeting with a bunch of guys, and you'll see this product in a second. And it was a bunch of guys, so we were like CrossFit guys. We work out all the time. And this was... I guess it was almost 3 years ago. And they were talking to me in terms like kind of guys talk, right? Like, and it was kind of crazy because at the time, I can't remember the actor's name, but the show Limitless was kind of being big, right? Some of you laughed. Was that funny or something? Or do you like Bradley Cooper? Yeah. So all Limitless was, the show is this pill that people take, and it unlocks the 90% of their brain that they don't use. And so my friend is a very successful guy, and he said, hey, it's like Limitless. Like, I just feel like I have a lot more clarity in my thoughts. I'm happier. I'm recovering in my workout. I sleep better. And then all these guys were like, yeah, that's why we take it. It's awesome. They didn't talk about all these crazy studies that you guys talk about. They didn't talk about Harvard. They didn't say any of those things. It was just like a guy talk. So they threw me the bottle. I took it home, put it on my side of the closet, started taking it. I felt different really quickly, and I could tell, but then my wife could tell, not because she knew I was taking it, but how I was acting. And so she's had some questions. She thought I was on drugs, and I said, this is what it is. And she started taking it as well. And then a couple days later, it was the US Open. I was watching the golf tournament, and she brought the studies out that all of you guys love, and she said, what you're taking, what we're taking is essentially what's in this. It's just been modified to where it's methylated vitamins. If you don't know what that is, go to a doctor, they'll explain it to you. I said, that's cool. She says, no, this is pretty crazy. There's actual proof, and companies like this, they usually pay so much money to create their own story. This was created by other people. I'm like, that's great. And she said, we're actually going to put this in our daughter's smoothie. And people have asked me, they say, why do you keep doing what you're doing? Why do you work so hard? Why do you want to travel? Why do you want to help other people? And for me, I'm the same as him. It comes down to three simple things. And those three simple things for people is it comes down to health, people's health, your own health, people's children or grandchildren, or your finances. And the interesting thing is, for us, our child, it was actually affecting, with her situation, with her health struggle, it was not only affecting her, it was affecting my wife's health as well. And because of that, we were spending a lot of money trying to figure out what we could do, and we got down to the option where synthetic drugs were probably what we needed to do, so we did that. And we didn't know that there was a child product for this that existed, so we just put it in the smoothie, and long story short, miraculous results. And so I was helping some companies very similar to Q Sciences start up and grow or fix them. I was actually there's a term that some of you have now found out. I was the fixer. So I'd go into a company and I'd help that company, and in a couple of weeks or a month, after I was very silent for a while, I know some of you guys, it's hard to believe, I would talk, and after about a month, I'd come in, I'd give all the results to the CEO of the board, and I would help fix their company. And so one of my friends had heard that I was fixing companies, and he heard that I had great experiences with one of the products. And guess what happened? They didn't call me, they called my wife. And they said, hey, this guy is a champion. Not literally, he's a champion. He played in the NFL and Super Bowls, but he had a much bigger career in commercial real estate in Seattle. And he's very well known, and he's a very wealthy man. And he's spent all his time in this company developing a great product line. And he needs to learn how to grow the business around the world. And you have to get Jake to meet him. And my wife said, Jake won't meet him. Like, Jake's kind of like checked out of business for a while. We had done some good things. We had saved our money. Well, she had saved the money. I spent it. And she said, you know what? I'll do the meeting because we're friends. So I was getting ready to go golfing. Who in here is a golfer? Who in here doesn't even know what golf is? Who in here realizes you have some of the best golf courses in the world? Like, one's like 40 minutes from here. It's freaking ridiculous. That's where I wish I was, but I love you. And that Saturday morning, she said, you're not going golfing? There's a guy coming to the house. I said, oh, really? She said, yes. So I said, okay, we have a meeting. And those of you know why I act like that, because who in here is married or at least tried it? No, if you want to be happily married, you just say yes. And so Mr. Mark Wilson walked into my home. He carried in with him a box of what we were giving our daughter. He had it in powder format. And he talked about his vision of what was going to happen in the company. And I said, I'll help you with your company. And so I consulted. So if you want the date, I started consulting for Q Sciences June of 2017. October 2017, I had my research paper done, right? And I wouldn't present it to him. I said, I'm going to show you that, not just tell you what I think needs to happen, I'm going to show you what I think needs to happen. So who in here has just started their journey in Q Sciences? Okay, and your name?
Angela Davidson.
And where are you from?
Montana.
So you drove all the way in here. So basically what happened is someone like Angela came to a meeting where I just spoke, and they're like, I want to change my life. And so I said, Mr. Wilson, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a project. So I took someone like that, and in about a month and a half, we grew that somebody's income and their organization larger than the company had for the past 4 solid years.
Oh, wow.
And that took me right up to Christmas, December 23rd. I said, I'm outie. Thank you. They didn't pay me anyway, so it wasn't out anything. So January 3rd, they called me back and said, we're ready. We want to do what's on that list that you gave us. And I want to say thank you, because many of you were a part of about a third of that list in 2018. You saw the monstrous change that we did at corporate, where we outgrew our one office and moved into a new facility. We went from, when I first came in, to 9 employees. I let all of them go except one, so a lot of people loved me when I walked in the office. I got to let them go. And then it got up to 50, 60, 70 employees. And now you're going to be coming to a convention in a couple weeks, and you'll be hearing from our new hire in Europe, Mr. Bengt Emmanuelson, and we're opening up a new facility, a shipping facility and an office in Europe at the end of October. And my friend's back here, he's helping us expand Asia right now. We have groups in Japan that are growing, right? And that's giving you a new market. And now we're looking at Hong Kong. Craziness. And last year you helped us open 5 additional countries, where now there's 16 countries around the world that are now receiving Q Science products, and people are adding extra income into their lives. And the list is extensive. It's huge. In fact, last year it equated to about 400% growth. And the cool thing is we have some really cool people that are with us, helping us make this amazing product line. Well, why are you here? Why are you here? A friend of mine, a very wealthy friend of mine, who I respect immensely, pulled me aside. And this would have been probably, here's how it actually went down if you're wanting to know how Q got into hemp. He pulled me aside early February of 2018. And he said, your company is doing it right. It's just different enough that it's going to be attractive. And you guys have a leader in Mr. Mark Willison who will not cut corners. I have some advice for you. Now, who in here has a wealthy friend? Okay? How many of you have had a friend that has done something for you that you could never do for yourself? Right? It could be financially, it could have been a friendship, it could have been getting you out of a jam, it could have been a relationship that got you there, right? Some of you are married to your spouse, the love of your life, because someone connected you, like, and you couldn't have done it on your own, because the way you look, you should thank that person, right? Right? You should really thank them, right? It's true. I see you. So, the point that I'm getting at is this friend for me was the gentleman that set my family, Sarah, my 4 kids, and my in-laws, and my father and mother, right? He's the gentleman that broke the chain of financial bondage in our family. All my children know, and my friends know, that there's one guy in my life that taught me the rules of making money. And there's not been one deal that we've done together where we've ever lost any money. So when he calls me, I pick up the phone. Because now, when he calls me, he's doing it because he doesn't make any money for what I do. So I'm going to say what he said. You guys ready for this? Some of you aren't going to like this. But it's really piercing, because this is why we got into hemp. You ready for this?
Yes.
He said, you guys should look at hemp or CBD. I said, okay, I don't want to sell pot. He said, it's not pot. And he said, Jake, listen to me. Is your trust going up or down with pharmaceutical companies today? And if you know him, he wasn't saying anything negative. He was just stating a fact. He said, are people more in tune with what they're getting from referrals from friends and family or marketing? He said, this industry is going to shake up everything, and it's poised because of how we socially interact with people. And here's what he said. This will be your biggest play in business, little brother, and here's the reason why. Because it's going to give, for most people, their only shot at getting involved in something before it goes mainstream, where they can make not only big money, we're talking huge money like you and I made. He goes, this only comes around once in a while. And he's like, you better listen to me, because most people never get the opportunity because of risk and capital and what's needed. And my partner will tell you, it's not been cheap for us. It's not been easy, but it's been worth it. He said, with your skill and knowledge and this guy, you guys could pull this off if you move now. So we moved now. We started bringing products to this guy, Dr. Stephen K. And he's awesome because he's helped made make a great range of products that many of you guys love. There's awesome stuff that we have. If you need something, we have it. Micronutrient, you need it, we have it. You want to spray your vitamins instead of swallow, we have them. If you want an energy drink that doesn't make you crash, do it. I just drank 2 of them today. If any of you guys have been trying to lose weight on this guy, good luck. You're not losing a dime. Not even an ounce. It's meant to help you put on lean muscle mass to burn fat. You know my secret how I lost all my weight? I didn't drink this for hell's sakes. No way. I am now because now I'm putting all my muscle back on. If you're trying to maybe cut a few pounds, maybe you've heard about our new trim. Who in here is taking our trim? John, how much have you lost, sir?
48 pounds.
48 pounds. That's incredible. Congratulations. Maybe that's why you're here. And Dr. K was absolutely instrumental. But what we ended up doing is we started getting a lot of hemp products and sending them to him. And guess what he would say to us? And Matt probably figured this out, that in Spokane there's actually a lab, and Mr. Mark Wilson's brother-in-law works at that lab, and they're sending all the hemp oil. And guess what we found? That most everything we bought was what? Garbage. It wasn't very good. And there was nothing compelling because Mr. Mark Wilson will never, ever put his integrity in line, because he's not ever going to embarrass us by selling something that's not legitimate. So at the very last moment, we both agree we're probably going to have to wait on this. Someone makes a connection, and we're introduced to Mr. Matt Smith. Now you can see the projections people are talking about. He's going to talk about it. But you have to know the reason why behind the movement, and why it's only going to get bigger, and why we're really, really strategically positioned. It's not what we have right now that we're selling. The secret of what you're going to see tonight is what we have that's already planned, that you all get to cut loose for the remaining 4 months of this year and all of next year. Like, be real, Matt, how many products do you think you've already developed for us that we're not currently selling?
About a dozen.
There's a dozen, easy. So I'm excited to be here. We're going to turn the majority of the meeting over to him, so you have an education of what hemp is, what it isn't. And then I'll close out with one of the products that we're bringing out because I think it's really cool. My son loves it. I think it's something that you've never seen before. And because of the technology that he actually owns and what we've partnered with, it's all possible. So you're looking at a distribution that's proven, that's all over the world, that's paying millions of dollars of commissions, that's giving free products out all over the world, and now that distribution is going into hyperdrive with where the hemp movement's coming. So please welcome one of my friends and my partner in Q Sciences, Mr. Matt Smith. Sorry, I got this. Now you just stand up there and look pretty. That's pretty funny.
Better move that a little to the side.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, Jake. What a great looking group. It's hard to follow a guy like Jake. I love Seattle. I've spent a lot of time up here. It's beautiful, and I can't believe the weather. It's like this all the time, right?
Yes.
Rain all the time.
So one of the reasons, you're going to ask this question, I'm just going to address it up front. Why did we partner with Q Science? Because when you see our data and you see everything, you'll say, wow, that's impressive. why did you choose a network marketing company to partner with? And one of the things you'll realize is if you don't know Jake and you haven't met Mark, is they're the real deal. And you know, being from Utah, I've been exposed to a few MLM companies, a few network marketing companies, and you know there was and we got approached by a lot of different companies, and we had to just respectfully say no, we're not interested, because we didn't want to associate our product with companies that weren't doing things that we didn't like and that wouldn't represent our values also. And when we met Jake and Mark, one of the things that impressed me right off the bat is these guys are the real deal. And I don't know a lot of NFL quarterbacks. I've met a few, but didn't get to know him. But Mark he's one of the most humble, you know, down to earth guys, but he's very driven. And Jake can attest this when he is going to go get something. In fact, we were having a conversation the other day, and it was interesting because we were talking about with college football coming up, and I said, I was just kind of talking about college athletes. I said, this is just amazing how physical and how they're adapt to what they're doing. And he says, I grew up, I never thought for a minute I couldn't do what we were going out to do. And I thought about that as long as I went out there. There was no doubt when he stepped out on the field, when he got called, a lot of times he sat in the background, didn't get a play, and all of a sudden he gets called up, both in the college ranks and the pro ranks. All of a sudden it's your time to shine, right? And if you're not ready, then you're going to miss an opportunity. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. When he stepped in his mind, he said, look, I never doubted, I practiced, I knew exactly what I was going to do. And so when his name got called, he was ready to go. And I thought, you know what, that's one of the reasons why we partnered with Q, because we want to get with someone who, when they're ready to go, they could go. And they can make the changes, because this market is going fast. And you'll see the things that we're learning are happening every day. And so tonight, what we're going to do is I'm going to take you back to school. This is Hemp 101. And we're going to have a little test at the end. You're going to get a diploma. Yes?
You've said we a couple times.
Yes.
So a few of us are sitting here asking who is we. We know it's you, but you say we.
Oh, our company. So we have
I don't know who that company is.
Well, we have a company. It's called Pure Health. We're the
Okay.
ones who developed this.
There we go.
We're the ones who partnered with you. So.
A few people back here were just asking.
Right. So, and I'll kind of go into all that, but tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to school, and when you're going to walk out of here, you're going to know exactly the key points that you need to know in this market. Because I'll tell you what, if you go to the internet, you're not going to learn any of this, or you're going to get confused, because everything out there right now is very confusing. So we're going to start right from the very beginning. And let's just talk about THC versus CBD. Now, maybe by just a quick raise of hands, who in here has tried CBD oil? Just about everybody, right? I'm not going to ask who's tried THC, because we are in a state where it's legal. But all THC, all marijuana plants, and all CBD plants are basically from the same genus, right? They're all from cannabis sativa. But I always look at this as like the yin and yang. It's amazing that you have THC and CBD, which really kind of do the opposites of each other, and have their opposing forces in the same plant. Full spectrum hemp or CBD gives you memory and focus. It makes you calm and connected. And on the other side, THC is psychoactive. It doesn't make you calm and connected. It makes you paranoid and hallucinations. And those of you that did inhale, you know what that's about. But you also experience this probably too, where we used to call it chill. Where you just get chilled. That was actually the CBD and the cannabinoids inside that plant. You had opposing forces working, because marijuana plants have CBD in them. And then you have here where it's an appetite stimulant. I mean, the whole term, the munchies, I think came from marijuana, right? And whereas here you have appetite control. There's medicinal benefits here. By and large, most of the THC business is recreational. And everybody that's doing the medicinal side is realizing there's a lot more of the beneficial sides over on this side. You don't have to get high to get the medicinal benefits of cannabis. So what exactly is, we're gonna go, let's go back, let's kind of take you back and talk about the history of hemp, because a lot of us sit here and go, well, where did this all come from? And hemp has been around for 10,000 years. They found pottery that's dated back to 8,000 BC that has hemp in there, actually in there. So it's in the Pilgrims back in Jamestown were growing hemp, had hemp gardens and hemp farms, because all the rope and a lot of their clothing and the stuff the early settlers and even up until the mid 1900s used came from hemp. In fact, our U.S. Constitution is written on hemp paper.
Oh.
Everybody knew back then, and even up through the 1950s, that industrial hemp and marijuana were different. In 1937, Congress passed the Marijuana Tax Act, which started to really scrutinize not only marijuana but hemp. And we'll kind of get into the definitions here. But in 1970, Congress passed the Controlled Substances Act. Now, in between this time, does anybody have any idea how much hemp was being grown in the U.S. in the, let's say, the 50s and 60s?
Not very big.
1 million acres in the 1950s where industrial hemp was being grown in the U.S. In the 70s, it was all gone. DEA and they made a controlled substance. They just basically threw the baby out with the bathwater. In 2014, Congress came back and they passed what's called the Temporary Farm Bill, and then in 2018, December of this year, they passed the Permanent Farm Bill. We'll talk a little bit about that because that's important to understand where we are today and what the landscape is. So let's talk a little bit about the 2014 Farm Bill. So there was a section in that Farm Bill is about this big. It's like any of these congressional bills. It's like no one can read it. And it had a section called Section 7606. If any of you guys have been with Q from the very beginning, you'll notice when we first launched this, there was a little thing on all your boxes that said Section 7606 comply, right? You don't see that anymore because we don't need to put that on there because of the new Farm Bill. But in 2014, when they passed this bill, they established a process which industrial hemp research could be done, and they defined industrial hemp as distinct from marijuana. This was always known early on, up into the 1950s. But in 1970, they just kind of lumped it all together when they did the Controlled Substances Act. So they distinguished them, and they authorized research and pilot programs. And these pilot programs were broad, meaning it wasn't just like a university doing a trial. It meant that companies could go out and they could start growing industrial hemp. They started in Colorado. They started in Kentucky, then moved to Colorado, and they started having all this industrial hemp being grown, and then piloting was basically the companies going out and marketing, figuring out where this was going to go. Well, what they defined hemp as is industrial hemp species of cannabis sativa that had less than 0.3% THC. And that's on a dry weight basis. That becomes very important as we'll talk about extraction. Now in 2018, the Permanent Farm Bill was released. That was in December of this year. Now this was a landmark deal because what happened is it permanently made industrial hemp legal to grow in the U.S. So it lifted that Controlled Substance Act and said, it kind of threw that out the window. They still had THC. Marijuana was still on the controlled substance, but CBD all of a sudden was not. In fact, the DEA deregulated it in December of 2018. They said it's no longer a controlled substance. Now we have been working with this since 2014. We got involved way early on this, and we were always operating under this. Here we are in a state which is in Utah doing hemp, which everybody knows Utah's a big hemp state, right? It's the most conservative state in the union. Now here we are doing research and we're doing programs, we're making products. And we would be looking out our window when a black car got up and guys got out that would look like feds. And because we always thought, even though we were completely registered with the state, we were legal, we were all papered up, we just never knew that might happen. That's what kept most of the people out of the market. Even though it was never a real threat because the Farm Bill to Congress said it was legal, yet the DEA said it wasn't. So there was this opposing forces. So 2018, that disappeared. That was just what, 8 months ago? 9 months ago? So this is brand new. That's why all of a sudden you see all these CBD companies just flooding the market. Because when they sold that, when they passed that bill, they were removed from the Controlled Substance Act. They formalized all the pilot programs, and they also established that if a state in the union did not have a hemp program, it automatically deferred to the federal program. So now all of a sudden you see all these states going out to just establish their own hemp program, right? So here's some of the issues that still remain as we sit here today. The biggest one is the FDA ruling, right? So Congress passes this bill on December 20th, right? On December 21st, the FDA comes out with a statement that says, hey, CBD and THC are not dietary supplements. They're pharmaceutical ingredients, right? So now all of a sudden everybody's going, well, what do they mean by that? Now, what they haven't ruled on and what they've stayed silent on is what happens on CBD that is naturally occurring in products. That's why you see in all the products that we market with Q Science, it says full spectrum hemp oil because it's naturally occurring CBD. That's a very important distinction with the FDA. We're not out there selling a CBD ingredient. We haven't taken CBD as ingredient and put it into a product, which a lot of companies are out there doing right now. We'll talk a little bit more about that. The other issue is that states like Washington, Oregon, California, 36 states have marijuana laws. Well, what do you do about that if you're the FDA? So this is, if anybody thinks that this is going to get resolved quickly, think again. Now, a lot of you will say, you'll say, oh, well, the pharmaceutical companies and the FDA are in bed together, right? These guys, they're just trying to squeeze us out. I come from pharma. Okay, I spent 15 years at a little pharmaceutical company out of New York called Pfizer. And we hated the FDA. And the FDA hated us. FDA hates pharma. They do. FDA hates nutrition companies. Who does the FDA like?
Themselves.
Right? FDA has one purpose. And they get held to this. And what is their purpose? Safety.
Yeah.
Their purpose is safety. And I worked for another 10 years in biotech. That makes me really old. And we took two products in through the clinical process the FDA established, and it is all about safety. You're doing animal models, you're doing human models, you're doing everything to prove safety of a compound. CBD is safe. That's why there's no big hurry either. If CBD was out there killing people, the FDA would be all over this. They'd have to act. But there is no precedence. There's no situation where CBD is out there killing people. You would literally have to swallow bottles themselves to have a problem with CBD.
The glass of the tin.
The glass, yeah. So the second thing that's still an issue is banking. Do you wonder why with Q Science the CBD